Hi everyone, this is Shishir. Uh, Among the options, we were given to choose and identify a current issue in early childhood education. I want to put some light on something I have seen up close and feel strongly about. Staff retention in early childhood education and care sector in Australia. Keeping good educators in the sector has become a real challenge. It's not just about having enough staff, it's about having what happens to children, families, and the team when someone leaves. I remember a time when a very experienced educator left quite suddenly. The children kept asking where she was, and the energy in the room shifted overnight. Even the families noticed. We had someone step in to fill the role, but what was missing was that bond, that sense of familiarity and trust. That moment really stayed with me because it showed how one person can make such a big difference in a child's everyday world. When educators leave, it affects children's sense of security, the quality of programs, and the overall energy of the service. According to the Australian Children's Education and Care Quality Authority, workforce stability is one of the most important factors in delivering high quality outcomes for children. From my own experience, it's also what keeps our team motivated, connected, and willing to grow together. In this presentation, I will reflect on how staff retention looks in the Australian ECEC context, the risks it creates in relation to the belonging, being, and becoming, the early years learning framework for Australia EYLF, and the National Quality Standard NQS. Some strategies to address these risks based on research and leadership practice. And finally, how my own leadership approach fits into building more stable and positive workplaces. Moving on to the next segment of our presentation, which is the issue staff retention in the Australian context. Staff retention is not just about hiring people, it's about keeping passionate, skilled educators in the profession for the long term. Over the past few years, many services across the country have struggled to keep their teams stable. There are a few big reasons for this. First, the pay and conditions in early childhood education often don't match the responsibility and skill required. Many educators feel undervalued. Second, workload is a major issue. There is a lot of administrative pressure, such as programming, documentation, compliance, and sometimes it feels like the joy of working with children gets buried under paperwork. Third, there are limited career pathways. Many educators feel stuck and can't see clear opportunities to progress without leaving the sector. Add to that the emotional toll of the work, especially after COVID-19, and it's easy to see why people walk away. The Australian Government, Department of Education's National Workforce Strategy 2021 to 2031 recognizes that keeping the early childhood education workforce strong and stable is essential for improving the quality of education and making it more accessible for families. When educators leave, it does not just create a gap in the roster, it disrupts the relationships children have built and breaks the sense of consistency they rely on. It can lower team morale and create a ripple effect across the whole service. From my own experience, even one person leaving can shift the energy of the group. This is even more noticeable in rural and remote communities, where finding and replacing staff is already a big challenge. So, staff retention is not just an HR problem, it's about sustaining the heart of early childhood education. Moving on to the third segment, which is risks with reference to EYLF and NQS. Staff retention is tied closely to the EYLF principles and practices and to several key areas of the NQS. The EYLF is built on secure and respectful relationships. I have seen how much that matters to children. When educators keep changing, it unsettles them. They lose that steady connection. the familiar faces that makes them feel safe. And when that trust is not there, everything else, like learning and confidence, is affected. UILF also talks about continuity of learning. If educators are leaving, there is less stability in routines, relationships, and planning. Children start to sense the inconsistency, and it can show up in their behavior, confidence, or how they engage in the program. Looking at the NQS, high staff turnover impacts. Quality area 4, staffing arrangements. Consistent educators are essential for forming strong bonds with children and families. When turnover is high, maintaining ratios, team balance, and smooth communication becomes harder. Quality area 7, governance and leadership. Leaders spend more time recruiting and covering shifts than supporting professional learning or building culture. It makes a service feel like it's always catching up instead of growing. Quality area 6, collaborative partnerships with families and communities. Families build trust with educators over time. When faces keep changing, the trust weakens and engagement drops. Other risks include increased educator stress, reduced program quality, and in some cases, falling short of compliance. From a child's point of view, what's lost is continuity. From an educator's point of view, what's lost is belonging. From a leadership point of view, what's lost is time and energy that could have been used to grow the service rather than constantly patch it together. Number four, which is strategies to reduce this risk. That's the next segment. The good thing is, this is not a lost cause. There are real, practical ways to make things better, backed by research and lived experience. A. Build a positive workplace culture. A positive team culture does not just appear. Leaders shape it. As Gillian Roth points out, a culture built on trust and respect helps people feel valued. This can look like reflective team meetings, recognizing achievements, either that's big or small, encouraging open conversations without judgment. When people feel respected and part of something, they stay. B. Support professional growth. When educators have opportunities to grow, they see a future in the sector. Mentoring, coaching, and learning communities have all been shown to help with retention. I have seen how something as simple as a shared planning session can help a new educator feel less alone. C. Prioritize well being. Stress is a major reason people leave. Supporting well being can be small things: flexible rosters, well being check ins, listening when people are tired. Leadership is not just about solving problems. Sometimes it's about creating a space for people to breathe. Career pathways and recognition. The National Workforce Strategy makes it clear that clear career pathways keep people in the sector. When educators can see their work leading somewhere, they're more likely to stay. This could mean senior roles, specialist positions, or support for further study. When people have direction, they invest more deeply in their work. Policy advocacy, number E. Some issues can't be solved inside the service alone. Wages and conditions need bigger sector-wide change. Leaders can advocate through organizations like Early Childhood Australia. Even small acts of advocacy show staff that their work matters. Collaborative leadership. When leadership is shared, people feel part of the service. They are not just employees, they are contributors. That sense of ownership builds loyalty and commitment. I have worked in settings where something as small as a monthly reflection circle created real change. People felt it. People felt heard. Turnover slowed. The team did not feel like a set of names on the roster. It felt like a group of people moving together with purpose. Moving on to our next segment, which is my leadership reflection. How would I act as a leader? Or what would I want in my leadership? When I think about how I lead, I don't picture myself as the person running everything. I think of leadership as setting up a space where people will feel safe to grow, share what they know, and be part of something bigger than their shift. Trust is everything. If people feel heard and supported, they stay. It's not about fancy policies, it's about how it feels to work there every day. I would use regular team reflections to keep everyone connected. Not formal meetings, just spaces to talk openly. I'd spend time with new educators too. I remember what it feels like to walk in and try to keep your head above water. I want them to feel like part of the team, not a spare pair of hands. For me, leadership is not about ticking boxes, it's culture. It's about shaping a space people actually want to stay in. I know I can't control everything: pay, policy, how the sector is valued, but I can shape that every day. And sometimes those small, consistent actions are what make someone decide to stay. Moving on to our next segment, which is uh, the conclusion. And staff retention is one of the biggest challenges in the sector. It affects children's emotional security, families' trust, program quality, and educators' well being. It's also deeply tied to the EYLF and NQS. But leadership can make a difference. When we build positive cultures, support professional learning, prioritize well being, and advocate for the sector, we don't just keep staff, we build strong, stable communities. I believe that real leadership lives in the everyday moments. It's in the way we listen, how we respond, and how we create space for others to grow. I have seen how those small choices ripple through a team and how they change the energy in the room. When educators feel supported and valued, they stay. And when they stay, children flourish. That's what good leadership is really about. It's not just holding a position, it's about creating a place where everyone can belong. That's my time. Thank you for listening to my presentation. You have a good day.